Hi beautiful people, I'm back. I said I've got so much to cover. So much has been happening without a crystal ball. Katie Joy, I don't know if she seems to be in a manic state. She seems to be desperate, because that's what I'm boiling it down to be, desperate. Her lawsuits are kicking off. She actually had a hearing on Friday where I did link to SLEUTH's video down in my description box from my last video. I will link it down again for those that have not seen it. She actually had a hearing with her lawsuits with 7M, and apparently that was hilarious. People were speculating and wondering, why is Katie Joy doing voiceovers and all that kind of stuff? You guys, you must be under so much pressure right now with all these lawsuits. I mean, things are popping off, you know, in the courts with Todd Chrisley, with the 7M. Nobody seems to be letting anything go. But before we get into it, please do not take what I say as fact. Feel free to do your own research and come to your own conclusion. So, as per usual, Katie Joy lies so much. It's like, you don't have to lie, you know. She made a statement about a week ago stating that she's got boundaries. She doesn't, you know, film on weekends. She stays off social media, which is a whole lot of bullshit. This weekend alone, Katie Joy was posting through the yin yang. Then she came back yesterday and she was all like, oh, she needed her me time, and she went and had her hair done.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is Tuesday, May 31st. I know I took a few days off. After Thursday, I took a Friday off to do self-care, got my hair done, and also just decompress. And then I did the whole long weekend without work.
You definitely need to decompress at some points, and if it takes you going and having your hair done and your eyebrows done, so be it. No big deal. But this whole situation with Todd Chrisley doesn't seem to be letting up. There's been a new filing. If you guys don't know, when this whole lawsuit with Todd Chrisley came about, she was like, there's no merit to it, it's bullshit, we're not even paying any attention to it. Well, it seems as though she's paying through her ass for attorneys to be filing all these responses and these motions, because first she filed a motion to dismiss. She withdrew that, and now she filed a countersuit, which in my opinion is like, are you really, KJ, going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks? Because this just does not make any sense. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just the parts of it that was like mind-blowing. And it's like, what was KJ thinking? So in her response, she has factual allegation. Paulson is a successful online personality and entertainment journalist who runs a YouTube channel called Without a Crystal Ball, which covers a variety of topics including reality television, celebrity gossip, trending news, crime, personal video, web blogs, that is vlogs, and more. The channel is known for covering reality television personalities such as Chrisley. Without a Crystal Ball currently has approximately 233,000 subscribers and has accrued over 115 million individual views since it was established in 2018. Good job, Katie. Chrisley is a national reality television personality, podcast broadcaster, real estate mogul, and celebrity who regularly thrusts himself into the public eye. For the last 9 years, Chrisley has been the central figure of the USA reality television show Chrisley Knows Best, which features his wife and children and has spawned multiple spin-off series. He is also a progenitor of the 186 episode podcast Chrisley Confessions, which he co-hosts with his wife Judy Chrisley. Chrisley Confessions is a podcast of 7 Seas production, is hosted by a courtside group and distributed to multiple streaming platforms by Podcast One. The Chrisley reality television show focus on the Chrisley family, including the often tumultuous family dynamics. The Chrisley family has voluntarily and without any coercion televised and discussed their many family disagreements and legal issues on their show and podcast for monetary gain, and have given television interviews through other news outlets on the same. Ms. Paulson has reported on many of these televised and family-reported issues, even in light of other reporting of his family's internal and external troubles by the Chrisley family themselves and other news outlets. Chrisley apparently took particular issue with Ms. Paulson's reporting. In response to Ms. Paulson's reporting on the Chrisley's family, Chrisley and his wife Julie have continuously made personal attacks against Ms. Paulson through their various media outlets to a large number of followers, including sophomoric attacks on physical appearance and reckless allegations about her fitness as a mother. On episode 148 of his podcast, Chrisley stated that Ms. Paulson is intent on destroying families, destroying people, but that is because she doesn't have God. The Chrisley's reckless statement and vitriol regarding and directed at Ms. Paulson and her family have resulted in listeners anonymously swatting Ms. Paulson's home and calling the police and social services to make false reports. Let's just stop there for a minute, you guys. Now, Katie Joy, really? Are you kidding me? Now she's gonna blame the Chrisleys for swatting her, calling the police and social services. Let me get this straight. When that did happen, it was the anti-KJ community or the people that actually follow the anti-KJ community, okay? Those were the people that were calling CPS on her. Then it was T-Spiracy that actually listed the phone number for CPS for people to call CPS. Then it was T-Spiracy's friend that called CPS. And then it was her audience when she was on a live that was calling CPS because apparently they said that she had done something to her son. It's like, is she going to keep telling the story and blaming somebody else to see who really gets held accountable for CPS being called? Because this year is like, wow. I got no words for Katie Joy. I truly don't have. It's like, do you need the money, Katie Joy? Or are you realizing that maybe you could get something out of Todd Chrisley? Because as you said in the beginning, this is all just it's a baseless, it's meritless. There's nothing to this lawsuit. But you're responding with the countersuit. But with things that you have blamed on other people before? Okay. In addition to his attacks on Ms. Paulson personally, the Chrisleys have chosen to further attacks on Ms. Paulson's husband and minor child, making demonstrably defamatory statements about them as well. And when did that happen, Katie Joy? When did the Chrisleys ever go after your child? When did they ever go after your child? Because go back to that podcast, and I will link it down for you guys down in my description box. There is not one second of the Chrisleys being mean, talking about, or even saying anything about their son. About their husband, absolutely. Not about her son. So get your facts right, since this is factual allegations. The Chrisleys have broadcast their desire for others to file lawsuits against Ms. Paulson and set up an email account to which they have requested people to send information about Ms. Paulson for the purpose of encouraging the same. Upon information and belief, Mr. Chrisley privately messaged other individuals and requested that they join him in this harassment of Ms. Paulson and her family. No, Katie Joy, get things straight, okay? Be honest. For once in your life, be honest. He absolutely did set up an email because there is so many people that you have done wrong to. Let's be clear. Example, Kim Fulmer, Tina. Who else did you try get TROs on to silence them? Quite a few people. I can't name everybody off the bat, but I know of some people that you did try to silence through TRO. So just saying. And if Todd Chrisley did reach out to people privately, that says a lot about you, KJ. It just goes to prove how many people you have hurt, how many people you have come for. Count 1, defamation per se. Paulson re-alleges and incorporated paragraphs 1 through 9 as if fully set forth herein. Chrisley made numerous false and injurious statements about Paulson and her family, using his podcast and social media platform to publish and circulate the statements. Chrisley's false and libelous statements were published to one or more third parties and to the public in general. Chrisley knew or should have known that these statements about Paulson and her family were false. Chrisley made false statements asserting that Paulson had committed criminal acts and or was engaged in criminal activity, and or that would be understood as describing criminal behavior. Chrisley's false statements about Paulson and her family were intended to or reasonably likely to damage Paulson in her person, business, and personal and business reputations, as well as her standing in her local community. In my opinion, first of all, Kaylee doesn't have a reputation. Okay. Secondly, standing in a local community when this woman doesn't even go outside? That's a reach. Just my opinion. Chrisley's statements constitute defamation per se, and as such, general damages are presumed. Third-party defendant 7C's production, Courtside Group, and Podcast One have all voluntarily participating and broadcasting Chrisley's defamation. As a direct and proximate cause of Chrisley and the third-party defendant's action, Paulson has suffered general and specific damages, including to her reputation, business, and standing in a community, in an amount to be established at trial, but which exceeds $50,000, together with interest, costs, disbursements, and attorney's fees as may be available at law. Count 2, harassment. Paulson re-alleges and incorporates paragraphs 1 through 28 as if fully set forth herein. Chrisley used his podcast and social media platform to make repeated statements intended to frighten, threaten, or intimidate Paulson and her family. Chrisley has repeatedly made statements about Paulson encompassing false statements about her as a person, mother, wife, and professional, as well as statements attacking her husband and child. Chrisley took action encouraging others to commence legal action against Paulson using his podcast and social media platform. These statements and actions constitute harassment under Minnesota state, whatever. As a proximate result of Chrisley's harassing behavior and statements, Paulson and her family have suffered general damages in the amount to be proven at trial. Yeah, right. Count 3, intention infliction of emotional distress. Paulson re-alleges and incorporates paragraphs 1 through 34 as if fully set forth herein. The conduct of Chrisley, as herein described, was extreme, outrageous, and beyond the bounds of decency tolerated in a civilized society. Wow. Paulson and her family have been targets of swatting and other false reports to police and social services since Chrisley began posting his false and reckless statements to his large national audience, and he has encouraged his listeners and readers to harass and threaten Paulson's husband and minor child. That, in my opinion, is bullshit. Katie has been crying foul for 2 years now? And let's be clear about something. When it comes to the harassment and stalking, Miss Tina was the one that had been doing it for I don't know how many years. Then Emily Baker came into play. She revoked that card from Tina. And then she was the harasser, the stalker, and all this bullshit. Now it's Todd Chrisley who's doing it via his podcast. Who's going to be next, Katie Joy? Who? Encouraging adults to harass and threaten children is objectively outrageous conduct intended to inflict emotional distress on Paulson. Chrisley's conduct was intended to cause Paulson and her family severe emotional distress and or was perpetrated with reckless disregard as to the probability that plaintiffs would suffer severe emotional distress as a result. As a proximate result of the Chrisley's false, defamatory, and harassing statements, Paulson and her family have suffered general damages, including emotional distress and mental suffering in an amount to be proven at trial. Defendants pray for relief. Wherefore, defendants Catherine Mansky Paulson and Without a Crystal Ball LLC praise that the judgment be awarded in their favor as follows. Damages in excess of $50,000 for defamation per se, consequential damages related to Chrisley's arresting statements and actions towards Ms. Paulson personally and to her family. Consequential damages related to the intentional infliction of emotional distress Chrisley's reckless statements and actions have caused to Ms. Paulson personally and to her family. Temporary and permanent injunctive relief prohibiting Chrisley from any further posting about Paulson, her husband, and a child, or from inciting or soliciting such posting from others. That Paulson be awarded judgment for her attorney's fees, costs, disbursements, expenses, and reasonable attorney's fees incurred in connection with this matter as permitted by law, including but not limited to those allowed by minister, whatever. For such other relief the court deems just and equitable. I've heard it all, I've seen it all, and all this, once again, in my opinion, total lies. Fabricated, everything thrown at the wall to see what sticks, even the fucking kitchen sink. This woman, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. It's like, Katie Joy, do you not realize what you do to other people? But when you can't hold your tongue and you get called out for your bullshit, you're the first one to cry victim. You're not the victim, Katie Joy. You never were the victim, Katie Joy. And when you want to talk about people calling CPS, call it for what it is. Don't lie about it. Now you're projecting all what people have felt about you, watching us. And all I'm saying is I did not enhance your video when you had your son locked in a room for 10 fucking hours. I never called CPS. But you want to know why people call CPS. Because of the fucked up things that you do. Todd and Julie Chrisley did not speak an ill word about your son. Be clear about that. Tell the truth. Don't fabricate stories to suit yourself, to make you play that victim card. Don't do that. Listen carefully. Listen intently to what they were saying. They felt bad for your son if you do what they heard that you were doing, Katie Joy. But once again, it was all good when you sat there on your Instagram live and threatened this man. And let's not forget that. You guys, that's it. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I promise you that's it for today. I'll be uploading tomorrow. Please be safe out there. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Be kind to one another and don't forget, make good memories. Bye, guys.